Honestly, it's been about 2 weeks since I touched this save. With work going on, the Christmas break, and being close to New Year, just a bunch of other stuff going on. Um, I haven't been as involved in this as I've wanted to be. So, if I go back and correct myself a lot, that's what's going on. As you can also tell from the voice, I'm getting over the flu. And trust me, it was the flu. All the tests I had to verify that it was everything not the flu confirm that, hey, yeah, you have the flu. So, good times, fun times. Nothing like getting a freaking 12-inch Q-tip stuck upside your nose, tickling your frontal lobe. So, it is currently September 15th. The transfer window is over, and we've played a few games. Go to the transfer window here. On the release players, we had quite a few. A lot of these guys were younger players going out, and a couple of them were just other players who weren't going to see a lot of playing time here. They're decent, but I don't need decent at this point. I need guys who can come in and contribute either as a starter or on the bench. So Dylan Shambos, Max Hans Rivera, Brian Nakue, Ahmad Sidibe, El Haji Die, Jawad Boudamane, Noah Benramdane. Okay, I know I'm pronouncing that last name wrong, but Tom Meyer, Ahmedine Makloufi, Israel Kiniga Mabala, Pierre Mbemba, and Alpha Ngongar all left on freeze. On the free transfers in, Lenny Pintor went out to Sassuolo, and then Connor Noss, an inverted winger who can play all the positions up top. He comes to us from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Had a couple of seasons there with 30-plus starts, a couple of goals, a couple of assists each season. Tells me that he either wasn't a focal point of their offense or he wasn't good enough for the offense. And it's probably more the latter because he came to us on a free. They chose not to re-sign him. Looking at his attributes, he's definitely one of those guys who is solid. I always call them lunch pail guys. Guys that come in, know their job, do it to the best of their ability, don't try to overachieve because, frankly, they can't. But there's no real weaknesses in his game. But when you also look at the fact that there's no real outstanding things about his game, he is one of those lunch pail guys. You always need those guys on the bench and coming in for spot starts. So, he's got decent acceleration and pace. His endurance is nice. His agility is nice. His ball control is actually pretty good. It's above average, I would say. His passing is above average. His positioning, that's where he falls kind of a little bit short. 8 marking, 9 positioning. The 10 decision making is average, as is the focus. It's just one of those things where they're probably better players at Borussia Mönchengladbach who got the majority of starts ahead of him when he was younger, and then when he finally started, he just wasn't good enough for them. And I can understand that. It's quite possible that he's not going to be good enough for us. But for a guy who comes in on a free, why not take that chance? Loan deals for us: Albion Jatishi, Badahir Demir, Sheikh Fall, and Madi Kamara all went out on loan. Some of them went out for actual fees, which is kind of nice. Jamie Lawrence comes to us from FC Bayern for 185,000 euros in total fees. He is a defensive center back here for depth. He is quite good for a 21-year-old defensive center back. I love the 18 jumping reach. The 14 strength is nice. Couple that with 16 heading and 13 bravery, and then everything else about him. He is an above-average defensive center back. The problem is that where he is at Bayern, they have a ton of above-average defensive center backs, so he's kind of lost in the shuffle. If we look at him, he's 6'7", 185 pounds. They're saying he's worth 350 to 6.4 million. And if he does a job for us this season, I could be tempted to make an offer for him. Because financially, we're still doing really well. We're 3 million under our payroll, and we've got 13.5 million to work with. So 6.5 million for a player like Jamie Lawrence. It's not out of the ordinary. It's probably on a high side, but I think it would be worth it. Just depends on the type of season he has for us. The cashed and clause transfers had quite a few of these, and some of these were players who were getting a bit older. Some of them were players who just didn't want to be here anymore, and some of them, like Gus Till, were players who were swiped by other clubs and really, really wanted to leave and got upset when I didn't let them go, and the locker room was like, how come you didn't let him go? And it's like, okay, I get that. So on the outs, Anais Namiri, Gonzalo Plata, Leo Petro, Matthew Seban, Victor Alvarez, Benjamin Buchari, Luis Mutan, Sergei Palencia, Ibrahim Awadi, Juan Pablo Goichea, Étienne Green went to Tottenham for 5.25. That was kind of expected though because he was being looked at last season. Amin Size, Jack McGlynn, Gus Till. This was a gut punch. Olympiacos came in and offered like 8.5, and I said no. And then the locker room had an absolute fit, so he left. Daniel Gonzalez, Edward Mosquera, and Mahalo Ristic all left. Now, if we go by fees, Gus Till's probably our biggest loss. Gonzalo Plata, I was really not expecting him to leave, but Aston Villa came, and a League One mid-table French team and a Premier League English team where you could be a starter. Why wouldn't you go? But we got value for him. At least I like to think we got value for him. Now he's at Aston Villa, saying he's worth 15.5. Ristic leaving, Palencia leaving. Those hurt, but not as much as they could, especially because they were a little bit older, and I think I have decent younger replacements for them. So, on the ends, Francis Amuzu comes up from Anderlecht, a winger. Good acceleration and pace. Decent agility, good ball control skills. His anticipation could be a little bit higher, but I'm okay with that. The decision-making off the ball is nice. The technique is nice. The aggression and focus is nice. The final third is nice. Decisions, the take composure, that's average. At this level of football, average is okay. He was at Anderlecht and had some solid seasons for them. 37 appearances, 9 goals, 36 2-1. Last season he was a spot starter, and they put him out there. And for 2.2 million, I think he's good value. The other thing I like about him is that he enjoys big matches. And there's no real negatives. I mean, his heading and his ability, they're saying his current ability is a bit low. And for the level of football we're playing at, it could be. But at 25 years old, he's not going to get better, but it's going to be a few years before he starts getting worse. Manu Sanchez comes to us from Atletico Madrid, the B squad, wingback on the left. I really like him. I think he's got some. I think he's really going to solidify the left side of the defense for us. There's no real weaknesses in his game other than the fact that he's not a good header. His positioning is nice. His marking is nice. His decision-making is great. He's got good focus, decent ball control skills. He's a very good crosser, which for the position he plays is also quite necessary and good. He's got good movement, good passing skills, decent agility, decent endurance, good acceleration and pace. He's could be a little bit better strength-wise. We might be able to improve that a couple of points, which I should actually probably put him on strength. But again, one of those guys with no real weaknesses, and other than heading and finding it hard to adapt to the core groups because he hasn't been here all that long. He's got 2 goals and 2 appearances off the bench, and he's done a decent job for us so far this season. I'm really expecting big things out of him. Miguel Beza comes with us from Vigo, 2.1 million, advanced midfielder and a striker. One of the big reasons I got him was his versatility, because he can come off the bench. At the moment, he's come off the bench 3 times. Yeah, it's only been for 17 minutes, but that's more my fault than anything else. Again, another one of those guys with no real positional weaknesses in his game. Decent quickness, okay strength. Well, let me rephrase that. The jumping reach is nice. The strength is a little bit on the low side. But I'm okay with that because I'm not expecting him to go into the 6-yard box and fight for headers. Decent agility. He's a good set-piece taker. That was another one of the things I liked about him. Better than average passing skills. Better than average crossing, better than average ball control. He's a good finisher. He's got good long shots. He's got good technique. And he's not the best at tackling and marking, but he tries really hard, and I'm okay with that. Romain Perard comes to us from Bournemouth for 3.2 million. He can play all the left field positions. Now, he will be swapping out with Manu Sanchez on the left, but I also see him playing advanced midfielder up top because he's got good acceleration and pace. He's got really good fitness, stamina, and work rate. His agility is nice. His passing is good. His movement is good. His crossing is very good. His ball control is nice. He's got the 1 assist so far, 2 appearances, 2 off the bench. I brought him in to be a wingback, and I was looking at Sanchez and Beza at the same time. But because Palencia my left back, had left, it was one of those cases where I wanted 2 really good players there. One of the things that really kind of hurt us last season was lack of depth in some positions. So if Sanchez and Beza end up fighting it out between themselves as to who is going to play, Romain Perard comes to us from Bournemouth for 3.2 million. My new defensive wingback. My new wingback on the left is really, really good. At 26 years old, he's a solid player. He's above average. Shoots from power, shoots from distance. The only area he's really lacking is an aerial game. And maybe some of his shooting, but everything else, he's an above average player. Good quickness, good endurance, good agility, good ball control skills. He is an above average crosser. He's got good movement skills, really good passing skills. He's a good defensive player, nice aggression, good focus, good tackling. He's okay at marking, but his position and decision making makes up for that. He's really good in the attack, and he's a long shot. He's a sniper from distance, which, given the type of tactic we play, doesn't really fit too well, but everything else he has makes up for it. He enjoys big matches, and there's no real weaknesses in his game. And for what we paid for him, I don't think we could get a better player. He's been a little bit all over. He came through LGC new system, went to Brest, went to Southampton, went to Bournemouth, and just never found a starting role. But I think for us, he's going to be a full-time starter unless someone younger supplants him. And I just don't see that happening anytime soon. He and Manu Sanchez, I was looking at both of them because I figured if I wasn't going to sign one, I was going to sign the other. They're both really good, and I would be happy with either one of them starting. Neither of them is really going to improve greatly. A couple of their attributes might go up by 1 or 2, but as long as I have one of these guys starting and the other guy coming off the bench, which is probably how I'm going to try and work it the rest of the season, unless someone just starts going on a streak, I'm going to keep swapping them out. One of them has to make the position his own, and the other is going to be the spot starter. But given the amount of games we play, they're both going to get a decent amount of starts. With Gus Till leaving, I needed a replacement up top. I'm not happy with the guys I have. I have a couple of guys with potential, but what we're not looking for at the moment is potential. Mark Targuay was available, and I picked him up after looking at him because the guy's an absolute beast. 6'5", almost 200 pounds. Great strength, good jumping reach, good quickness and acceleration for a guy his size. His endurance is not bad either. He's got okay agility, which, again, for a guy his size is a plus. He's got good movement skills. He's not the best passer, but then again, he's a target man. He just stands tall and says, aim the ball towards me, and I'll do with it what I can. He's got good ball control skills, although his technique's a little bit on the low side. He can't mark or tackle worth a darn, but then again, I don't know that he really needs to because at 6'5", 200 pounds, he just kind of gets in your way and you go around him. I would count that as a defensive success. He's got great heading and bravery, as expected. He's a good finisher. He's got okay long shots, and he's above average in the final third. And I cannot complain about that. What I can complain about is the fact that for the moment he hasn't had any goals, but a lot of that is due to the fact that one of the things I'm finding out in this formation I'm using, and it's the same formation I used, it's the same formation I've been using, the wingers are actually getting a lot of scoring opportunities. And if we were to look at last season, I'm almost positive one of my wingers was the high scorer. I'm using this same formation, my Santa Clara save, on my blog, and I've had seasons there where the wingers have had 17 goals and 14 assists sort of thing. So, comes to us from Zaragoza. His best season was as a lone player at Zaragoza, where he had 22 goals in 41 games. Last year, he had 9 and 38. I'm expecting double-digit goals from him. If I can get 12 to 15 goals from him over the course of the season, I will be very, very happy. But at $7.5 million, I think it's good value for the player. Even if he turns out to be bang average, okay, yeah, maybe that's not the best deal, but at the same time, he can perform above that. We've seen, just looking at what he was able to do, if he gets anything close to 20 goals in 38 games, that's him playing really, really well and things going right. 12 to 15 goals from him this season, I would be very okay with. Vivian Bredlow comes to us from VfB Stuttgart. I needed some backup help at the goalkeeper position, and he was the best out there. I'm okay if he starts a couple of games. I might actually start him in a couple of the cup matches. He's 29 years old. He's one of those guys who would be a great lower division keeper, and he's a good backup. There's no real weaknesses in his game, no real strengths in his game. That's one of the reasons he's a backup. And last but not least, Marcelo Wingate comes to us from Brazil, FLA. I'm totally blanking on the team name at the moment. I'm sorry, I don't have the real name fix going on here. He is a defensive right back, wing back, can also play advanced mid. A spot can play a defensive left back, which means I could also play him at wing back if I needed to. He's here more for depth purposes than anything else. But there is a decent chance that he could make the position his own. He's not the best shooter, but I'm not looking for him to shoot. He's got good final third. He's got okay ball control, but he's a decent crosser with okay technique. He's got good movement and okay passing. He's got good determination and teamwork. He's very quick. He's got good endurance, and I love the 19 work rate. And he's better than average on the agility. He's a backup. It's possible he could get quite a few starts because this is also one of those positions that isn't really set in stone. Maybe it's an example of if you've got 3 good players at one position, you have no good players. But at the same time, one of the things where we've fallen short the past couple of seasons is that once you get past the first person, the second person just isn't of quality. And by of quality, I mean it doesn't have to be as good as the first person, but it has to be better than average. Now, better than average, especially at League One, isn't going to get you a full-time starting job. But you can be a very good contributing player and a spot starter. And that's what he's here on. And George wants to go outside. Be right back. So in totality, 39 million euros of players went out, 23 million euros of players went in. As we showed earlier, we still got 13.5 million euros in the transfer budget, and we've got 3 million to work with in the payroll budget as well. So if a really good player becomes available and the price is right, we can make a move for him. So currently we're in 9th place. We've played 4 games. The board is just expecting us to be competitive in the French Cup, and they want a top half finish in Ligue 1, which I think is eminently doable. You know, season preview wise, they have us finishing 8th. I would be very happy with an 8th place finish. That's what I'm aiming for. 8th place and higher. I would like to try and sneak into 6th and 5th. That is probably going to be outside of my control, though. And the season up to this point has gotten off to a really good start. Now, the only friendly we lost was against Crystal Palace, but that was a really rotated side. And we just didn't perform well. Crystal Palace is Crystal Palace. They're my team. They're my Premier League team. I love Crystal Palace. I'm actually wearing the Richmond cap today, but if you've been a fan of this stream at all, if you've been a fan of the page at all and watched my videos, you know I really like Crystal Palace. We got the league start off right, a 3-0 win at home against Dijon. Mendes a goal, Badoui a goal, Herrera a goal. At Brest, we beat them 2-0 thanks to goal by Mendes and Blanco. We drew with Rennes. Rennes has a really strong squad this year, so a draw is not bad. We had our chances. They weren't the best chances. It was just... 6 shots, 2 on target, and XG of 1. It was just one of those games where everybody, I don't want to say they were going through the motions, but it was really kind of a boring game to watch. It's one of the games I watch on extended highlights. I do that maybe 3 or 4 times offline. And it was frustrating. You're expecting a lot and you don't get a lot. And it's just, there was a lot of passing back and forth between both squads. It just wasn't an exciting game, and sometimes soccer's like that. Nice absolutely thumped us 2-0. Mariano goal, Gaetan Laborde goal, and they absolutely dominated us from beginning to end. They had 13 shots on 6 on target, next year 1.78. We had 5 and 2. We had a couple of good chances, but at the end of the day, they're just a better club. And realistically, where we are in the save, that's actually not a bad thing. I mean, we know there are at least 6 or 7 clubs better than we are. PSG, Rennes, Lorient, Marseille, Nice, Lyon. I would put Lille up there, but I'm not sure about Toulouse. And if we looked at where everybody finished last season, it was PSG, Monaco, Marseille, Lyon, Montpellier, Nice, Lorient. The Strasbourg and Lille were on the outside looking in. I would expect Lille and Strasbourg to jump up, maybe Lorient, Montpellier to come down. But these top 4 teams are going to be these top 4 teams, and PSG is going to be the leader of the group. It's possible they may fall off. It's possible a team like Montpellier could come up and snipe them. But Rennes had a really nice offseason. They made some really good moves. They sold some players. Arthur Thiet went to Hertha Berlin. But Andrew Frances, I was looking at him, and he went to Stade Rennais instead. There was one other guy I was looking at. Was it Maturo? Yeah, it was Maturo from Defensor Sporting. He's a 19-year-old, and he's got a ton of potential. My scout in Uruguay found him. And I looked at him and I was like, wow, that's really good. And I made an offer for him. And then Rennes came in and he's like, oh, why would I play for you when I can go play for Rennes? It's like, there's not a lot of difference between us, but the difference that is there matters. So today, for a variety of reasons, some of it the Colt, some of it the fact that, we're going over the transfer and stuff like that, we're just going to play Toulouse. They're a good squad. We got our work cut out for us. Take a look at the team here. We'll do a quick pick. This is annoying. And I totally forgot about this until I just looked at it. Nathaniel Nwosu, my young keeper, who has a ton of potential. I mean, a ton of potential. One of his requirements for coming to the squad was that I had to sign someone to help him acclimate. None of the guys he suggested wanted to come here. And as a result, he is upset and he is asking to leave. And I know he's a good keeper because you're not wanted by Man United, Inter, and Juve if you're horrible. I went to him at the beginning of the season. I said, hey, look. Or I went to him at the end of last season was when he said he was upset. And I keep forgetting about this because there's moves you make before the start of the transfer window always show up on last season's transfer window. So we'll go back there in a minute. And I said, hey, look, who can I bring in to help you? And he said, oh, bring in this guy, Nduka Jr., who is a very good defensive center back. Now, he's a little bit lacking in strength. His technique is not the best. He's got no ball control skills whatsoever. He's a defensive center back, for crying out loud. He's not the guy you give the ball to and expect him to matriculate it up the field, to borrow a phrase. And I signed him, and then Nwosu said, nope, I'm still upset. I want to leave. And so it's possible I could lose him. The big thing is that he's wanted. He doesn't have a minimum release fee. It's one of those cases where I don't know if it's an FM thing or if it's a PibCac error on my end. But yeah, that whole thing was just, I said, hey, who can I bring on board? And a couple of guys I went after, one of whom was a teammate of his, was like, no, I want to stay here and at my club. I just signed a new contract. So the other player we brought in at the end of last season was Nicola Amadori. He is a striker. I brought him in as backup. He's 19 years old. He's got a ton of potential. 17 determination, 19 jumping reach, okay acceleration and pace. His endurance could be better. We're working on that. Well, we're going to be working on that. But he's got good anticipation, decision-making, and off the ball. He's decent aggression, decent decision-making, decent aerial skills. He's okay in the final third. I mean, for a 19-year-old who's been capped at the under 20 level by Italy, he's got a lot of potential. And I'm hoping to get him some playing time off the bench. And maybe a couple spot starts against the lower level competition when we start playing in the French Cup. So he's 2-star currently. He's got 4.5-star potential. So this is who we have today. We're going to have Nwosu in goal. Junior Antoine Zebe as the center back. Sanchez and Mendes as the wing backs. Blanco as the defensive mid behind Herrera and Basic. Balad and Beza as the attacking mids. With Gray up top as the striker. Corner kick. Ooh, sends it in. Off the crossbar. Sanchez hit the post or the corner. "30 minutes in. Not a lot of highlights. Here we go. Herrera. Up to Balad. Centers to the Basic. Out to Beza. Beza lumps it forward towards Gay. Rounds the keeper and loses the ball. Mendes. I don't know if that was a Guay issue or the defender made a really good play. Probably a little bit of both. That is halftime. What a boring first half. The Guay highlight was interesting, though. I'm going to say keep going. Hopefully this isn't one of those games with just 3 highlights. When we've had our opportunities, 6 shots, 3 on target, we've held them to 5 and none. And 60 minutes in, it's going to be one of those games, isn't it? We're going to bring Weigott on for Mendes. We're going to bring Parad on for Sanchez. We're going to leave Gueye on. Save the last sub here. William to Brom. Croy up to Siapas. Croy to Braun. He's Menlu. Really good ball movement by Toulouse. Silla. Skita. Drops it off to Silla. Silla tries crossing it in. Shabby's there. Wow. That was a goal. Holy cow, that was a great header. We are going to have to go positive. The attack. There's 75 minutes in. We're going to get Gueye off and bring on... I have high hopes for Gueye. I'm hoping they're not misplaced. Amadori. Blanco. Gonzebe. To Blanco. Beza. Centers it. Balad is there. Was that a foul? Beza was offside. Prevo's just killing time. Kick the ball or blow the whistle. One of the two. Gonzebe. Is it up? Oh, Delcroix was dispossessed. Last chance. Basic. Into the crowd. And that's the game. Well, we had our opportunities, but just too many poor performances. Junior did not have the best game. Nowusu did not have the best game. Maybe not the best way to get the third season started. Plus, Toulouse is a really good squad. Yeah, I am worried. Guys played 10 matches now without finding the goal. I got him playing as a pressing forward. I'm wondering if he shouldn't be a target forward or a complete forward. We go back and look. Support duty. We could drop into space, run the defense, take long shots, drive to the flanks, or play balls through the defensive line. And 12 for long shots. If I make him a target forward, he's an average passer. So the reason I have him on pressing forward at the moment is pressuring the opposition and slowing them down. Probably wrong. I'm target forward support. Pressing forward's wrong for him because he doesn't have the marking abilities. Keep on forward on attack. Shorter passing. We'll try that out the next couple of games, see what's going to happen. And speaking of the next couple of games, we are probably going to come back for... Wow, that is a heck of a run of games there. PSG, Lille, Lorient, and Marseille. Fun times. I think what we're probably going to do is come back for Lyon, Lorient, and then we'll come back for Monaco and the French Cup ninth round match. And then go through the January transfer window and pick up one of the games in here. Reims Auxerre. It's possible if and when we win here, we should have another cup game here, depending on who we play. We may skip it. If it's a pretty good team, we'll play them. If it's a pretty lower team, we'll just probably play them offline and get beat. Who knows? But yeah, that's what we're going to do. We'll come back for Lyon Lorient. And hopefully by then we're still mid-table. So, not the best of games, not the best of performances, but I'd be interested in your feedback on the transfer window. What do you think of some of the players we picked up? Some players we let go. What would you do in my situation if Nowusu was your keeper? I'd be interested in your feedback on that. So if you did like what you've seen and heard, please leave a like. Subscribe to the channel for more content. Questions, criticisms, comments, leave those down below. I will answer those as fast as I can. My name is FM Jellicoe. I thank you for watching.